Look, I'm fairly worried about the state-owned entities because, as I said earlier, it's the one issue that hasn't really gone away very much at all. You know, nothing's really been done. Sure, we've had change of board at Eskom, you know, the change of governance, a lot of work being done there to try and sort that out. Certainly, you know, in terms of the other state-owned entities, they need improved governance as well. But, you know, a lot of them, the big issue comes down to, is it a going concern or not, and who's going to fund it? And of course, that is important when you go to the debt markets, you know, and you try and raise the money. Because as Minister Gagaba said, you know, you need to obviously be able to have these SOEs being self-funding. They cannot actually be a drag on government. We forget that we've come from a period in the 2000s where we've actually had high economic growth, fiscal consolidation, and we've obviously had well-performing state-owned entities, and they have actually managed to produce a profit. You know, there haven't been a millstone around government's neck. We've actually got an upgrade in our credit ratings to an A-grade credit rating in the 2000s at a time when unemployment fell all the way down to 22%. So we've actually been taught in the last decade that we can't have that. We've been taught that, you know, you can't actually have infrastructure spend without having a deterioration in government finances and your state-owned entities blowing up and losing your credit ratings. And we've all come to think about life very differently. So returning to those 2000s of good growth years, it is achievable to sort out our state-owned entities. But the question really is, are the hard decisions going to be made that is required to do this?
Can I just come in there, if I may, Justice? I think something that's happening that perhaps is at a political level a little bit unthinkable for many in the government structures is that because of the dismal state of the government finances, whether it's at SOE level, whether it's the national fiscus, whichever way you look at it, government is now being forced to look at partial privatization. The president himself alluded to that.
No one mentions the P word.
It's a hybrid.
The president did. The president did. Minority stakes, I think, is the word that he used. Now, you know, you can solve some of the problems by doing that. What happens is, you know, when your finances are in such a precarious state and you can't borrow and you can't fund, you have to sell off these assets. And history tells us that in various countries where people have done this and you sell off particularly non-core assets, it actually does you a great service in the future. And maybe, you know, an unpopular example will be the UK in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, under Margaret Thatcher, but they were forced to do that because their fiscus was also decrepit as it was. So it's something that I think we need to watch for if we're going to sort out SOEs in the shorter to medium term.